Okay, to introduce the topic, too much overdiagnosis. Most of our doctors want to do good. We have been discussing this just a few minutes ago. Nobody really means to do harm. So, but few would agree with the famous writer Ivan Illich that medical establishment has come towards a threat to healthcare. I don't think we have gone that far. But we may agree with one of the foremost health economists, Alan Ethoven, that increasing medical inputs will at some stage become counterproductive and produce more harm than good. I don't think anybody will have much problems with the statement. So, my question is, have we got into that tipping point where we have to decide whether we are doing good or harm, or is the balance tilting towards harm? Very simple definition of overdiagnosis. Overdiagnosis occurs when individuals are diagnosed with conditions that will never cause symptoms or death. There are many definitions. This is a very simple definition. So, some of the other names that we give are over-medicalization and subsequent over-treatment, some call diagnosis creep, shifting thresholds. This is a very nice thing that has been happening. Shifting the threshold of blood pressure, diabetes, you name it, it is happening now. And this is mongering. Let me give one example of shifting thresholds. Everybody will know this. What happened in 2017 when they tweak the blood pressure. The numbers are very, very clear. According to the new guidelines in 2017 of the American Heart Association, the number of people labeled as having hypertension will increase in the US by 26% and in China 45%. So 75 million in the US and 55.3 million in China would be newly recommended for treatment with hypertensive drugs. Right. So, and I don't have the time to play this very nice video by Professor Alan Francis, who was the DSM-4 chairperson. And when he narrates the story of what happened in DSM-3 to 5, how people created psychiatric illnesses, and by the time some of the people slept, they did not have any psychiatric illness. By the time they woke up, about 1 million people had a psychiatric problem. I mean, the man himself says he's a chairperson of DSM-4, and he didn't get the chairperson to act as 5, but he was in the committee because he was dead against meddling about with thresholds. And to the children, what we are doing. There's a nice article in Pediatrics about, when we were disruptive, we got a spanking, but now we are given a drug, right? So, this is again not from third or fourth class journals, it is a journal of pediatrics. They identify 9 conditions where we may be doing harm. However, not all agree that overdiagnosis is happening, and about 10% of the people argue. And among the main journals who are arguing that, no, don't worry, it's the New England Journal of Medicine. Right? And they question, less is more crusade by JAMA. Are we over-medicalizing or over-simplifying? I mean, that's a fair question. So the BMJ has replied very nicely. And this word was not coined 1 or 2 years ago. It has been there for the last 50 years, the overdiagnosis. Starting with screening, as you will get a very good dose of, I think, low dose radiation on screening by Dr. So I'm not going to speak about that much. 2002, the BMJ started this campaign. They questioned, was it too much medicine? But in 2014, it is too much medicine. There's no problem. They have gone on the campaign, and Chama joined in 2010. And there's a very nice, even a person who is driving the car can hear this kind of audio, 10 minutes audio on the breast cancer surgery, which clearly says less is more. The book that created a very, very wide opinion from the journalists, the patients, and the doctors are this overdiagnosis making people sick in pursuit of health. This was a worldwide bestseller. And now, every year from 2012, preventing overdiagnosis, there's a world conference. And the last conference, the coming conference will be in Sydney, Australia. And at least 500 plus of academics and doctors are supposed to. Normally, the last statistics of the people who went for the 2018 was 500. So, why bother? This came 1 month ago from the Cochrane. Now, the GPs are very fond of general health checks. So, as the package deals from all private sector hospitals, very clearly says, I will read it because it is very, very infrequent. Their Cochrane reviews give a very clear, they will always tell, you have to do more research. Here, no 2 words. Key message, the systematic review was done. The aim of this Cochrane review was to find out general health checks, whether it reduces illness and deaths. So the conclusion was, systematic effects of health checks are unlikely to be beneficial and may lead to unnecessary test and treatment. This came out last month. Very clear. And there's a nice thing that the NHS is doing now. This is the top part of a slide. Interventions which should not be routinely commissioned or performed. And they give a very nice bit of evidence, and 95% snoring surgery, dilatation and curettage for increased menstrual bleeding, knee arthroscopy and spinal injections. Very clear. Why bother? Again, the cost. These are $4 billion estimated in US dollars on breast cancer overdiagnosis in the US. Now, about the suffering. I told you why we are concerned, because the evidence is there. The cost is prohibitive. And what about the suffering? Right. This is again taken from the Lancet 2017. If you take 1,000 women and screen them for 20 years, you will prevent 4 deaths from breast cancer, but 8 women will still die. This is not suffering, but next. Now this is suffering. During that period, 1,000 women, 412 women will experience a false positive result. And 67 women will have a biopsy, and 345 some other extra test. So the massive psychological, physical suffering that goes on. This is very, very methodical breast screening that was taken in Canada, US and UK, the summary statistics. So again, you will see it is a problem for the West, not in the East now. There's a very nice article in the BMJ again by the Indian editor, why medicine is not a problem only in the rich countries. Mapping the drivers, why is it going on and on and on? Why is it happening? There's a very nice article written by one of a Sri Lankan doctor now in Australia about the drivers of overdiagnosis. Very briefly, it is patients and public and goes on to cultural things. And she very clearly defines the drivers, why it is going on, and gives some very nice things you can do about it. Not only talk about it, something that can be done. So what can be done? Choosing wisely. I think some of you may have already heard about this initiative in the US by 70 specialist societies. They have come together and at one website they have put all their college of physicians or pediatricians, everybody who has something to say, not to do, has provided this choosing wisely. And from the US, they have come to the UK and there is choosing wisely UK. All colleges and societies in one website. Can I just suggest that the SLMA, madam, take some initiative in getting the colleges together and the ministry. And if we have some very valid recommendation, put it on the single website and maybe we can call it Choosing Wisely Sri Lanka. We did this about 1 month ago. The ministry called a group of experts, surgeons, radiologists, and discussed about the current breast cancer screening guidelines. And we had a very nice discussion about 2 or 3 days and came out with the guidelines. When I went to access the website this morning, this is the message that I get. It is not available, website is suspended for some reason, right? So there's a very nice initiative, right? And you can get all this information and more in the website. You can just go there and you can read anything. Everything is reference, articles can be downloaded, everything. And thank you. I think I have a few minutes, but let the others, some of the doctors have very nice presentations, not like this one, really clinical stuff. It may listen to the next speaker.